But one question I want to pose to you, Lepore, is
Sure.
have you changed your mind at all on this Edmonton Oilers team? Like, are you still in the same boat in terms of like this team is sort of average? They're really not that great. They're not on the Leafs tier, or do you think they're like even worse than we originally thought?
Based on those 3 games against the Leafs,
Mm-hmm.
that's tough again because like you're not seeing them play. You're not seeing any team play teams across the NHL. But I'll throw this back at you because I do think that's a good question that you bring up. To me, I will answer. Like they are what I thought the Oilers would be. They're reliant on 2 guys, and again, like we talked about, like they're a weird team in the way that if they finished higher up in the standings or lower in the standings, you wouldn't be surprised because if those 2 guys go off, they can be up here. But if those 2 guys go off, they can still be down if the team is that bad, right? But I'll flip it back to you because we've talked about how, questioning whether certain teams are benefiting from playing in this Canadian division or are they being hurt by playing in this Canadian division. Where do you think the Oilers lie with that one? Do you think the Oilers are better off being in the situation they're in, or say if they were playing in the West, would they be like more impressive from a standing standpoint, from a result standpoint?
I think maybe their record would be a little bit better, but honestly, I kind of think they are what they are
Yeah.
because I know there's been a lot of talk about, well, if the Leafs weren't in the Canadian division, they'd be an average team. I think that's a
Yeah.
load of bullshit.
Yeah. It's fucking bullshit.
I
Yeah.
think the Leafs are without question a top 3 to 5 team in the NHL. I mean, I would even go as far as saying they could be let's maybe give the benefit of the doubt to Tampa because right now, I mean, Tampa has the best, or I think it's Tampa and Vegas that have the best points percentage. The Leafs
Right.
lead the league in points, but I believe Tampa and Vegas have the best records, and Tampa's coming off their Stanley Cup, so whatever.
And they don't have Kucherov.
Yeah, that's insane.
Crazy.
They essentially lost their MVP, and they're still a top 2 team in the NHL.
Yeah, no one's talking about that. Maybe no one's talking about that because they're winning, but just crazy.
That's crazy impressive. So let's say the Leafs are in that 3 to 5 range, right? I mean, I don't care what division they're playing in. Right now, Lepore, they're playing at a 120-point pace.
And that's after the 2 losses?
Yeah, after the 2 losses to the Canucks, still playing at a 120-point pace over 82 games.
Yeah.
So to kind of circle back to the Edmonton Oilers, playing the Leafs this many times, is it hurting them a little bit? Sure. But if they were in another division, there would be another top team that they'd have to deal with, right? Which they would probably be struggling with as well. So when I kind of just look at this Canadian division as a whole, I think the only truly bad team is the Ottawa Senators.
Mm-hmm.
And listen, I don't think it's the strongest division by any means. It's not at all. But to me, you just kind of have a bunch of teams that are sort of just mediocre. And to me, I think there's several other divisions, with the exception of the East Division, which just seems to be ridiculous.
Yeah, it's a gauntlet. Yeah.
But when you look at every other division, there's always a couple bad teams, and then you got like 3 middle of the road teams, and then like 2 or 3 solid teams at the top. So with the Edmonton Oilers, I think regardless of what division they're in, I kind of think they're just sort of an average to slightly above average team. We've talked about all the holes that they have, especially defensively and goaltending and their lack of depth up front. So yeah, Lepore, to me, the Oilers, they are what they are at this point.